take projection.
Welcome to Taking on Sports, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing this week?
I am good, sir. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. As I just told Greg off mic, I just ate a meatball sandwich, so if I fall asleep during this podcast, I'm sorry. It was delicious, and it's worth it. But let's hop into it like we usually do, y'all, in college football world. We usually start with Alabama. Really not much to speak on them. Yesterday, beat the Austin Peay Governors 34-0.
Governor. Yeah.
Looked sloppy at first. Kind of put it away, I guess. I
Yeah.
have nothing to say about it, Greg. Do you?
I was kind of shocked that we played Bryce so long into the fourth quarter. I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, no one really seemed to want to be there until later. And on to the Iron Bowl.
Exactly, yeah. Move on to games of slightly more importance. The big story, however, in college football yesterday in the SEC, South Kakalaki, baby, put it
boy.
on Tennessee. It was 63-38 final score, and they could have hung 70. They could have named their score against them.
Man.
The Tennessee defense had no answers for Spencer Rattler and the rest of the Gamecock offense. Yeah, Spencer Rattler finally looking like that Heisman favorite he was supposed to be last season.
Exactly.
Obviously, the team that beat Tennessee is surprising, very shocking. As the Ravens just get a game-clinching interception, Marlon Humphrey. But the way that it happened, maybe not so surprising. We kind of all thought all year that Tennessee's downfall would be that defense that could give up just as many points as the offense scores, and they did it. Not against the people you thought they would. It wasn't like the Georgia game. The Georgia loss, that offense got shut down surprisingly. But this game, as I said, South Carolina could have named their score. Greg, speak on it.
Man, I mean, it was from the opening drive on. I mean, it was just epic. I mean, Spencer Rattler put on a clinic. And, I mean, it looked very much like he did in 2020 when he, second half of the season, when he was at OU there. Lackluster last year, hasn't looked good this year, and just turned it on. Finally.
Finally, yeah.
I mean, it was late November, but, I guess better late than never. And, man, they loving life in Columbia last night. I mean, wow, just...
They scored touchdowns on their first five, at least six drives?
5 or 6 drives there, just boom, 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 boom.
I know it was for sure first 5 all in the first half.
Yeah.
Scored touchdowns. I'm not sure if they're first in the second half. I can't remember, but
it was epic.
Nothing. I mean, and guys getting wide open all night. A couple of was at Wells making a couple great catches, high pointing balls, but it was mostly just, I mean, you had third and long. There was a point late in the game when South Carolina was up, I think about 10 or so, maybe less.
It was like 3rd and 20.
Yep, and they completed that deep crossing route, and there was nobody within 15 yards of the receiver.
At all. I was like, oh my goodness.
So Tennessee surely will take a hit in the college football playoff standings. I know in the AP poll today they fell behind the LSU and Alabama, 2 teams they both beat.
But
a
little tough.
Yeah, a little tough, but AP poll doesn't really matter anymore. But that eliminates Tennessee from college football playoff contention. Obviously, makes the New Year's Six Bowl. They're still in contention for that. You would think, but
maybe a Sugar Bowl or something.
Yeah, maybe Sugar or one or the other.
Whatever they send folks to these days.
What are the semis this year? I don't even know what the semis are. The peach and the cotton or something.
Yeah, I believe so. I know Atlanta has one of them. I know that for a fact.
So that should be the Peach Bowl then, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it is a Cotton Bowl. Fiesta Bowl and Peach Bowl this year. That's what it is. Okay.
Interesting.
But
that game last night was like the 2010 Alabama-South Carolina game on steroids.
Yeah, right? A Steven Garcia-esque performance from Spencer Rattler.
But twice as amazing. It's like, and the craziest part is just, last week they got throttled by Florida. Absolutely, just handled
Yeah,
down in Gainesville.
they had more. I think they had more total offense in the first quarter than they did all the game last year or
Probably
last
that
week in
first
Florida.
drive.
Yeah, yeah, it was not pretty last week. So you naturally, everyone, you were safe to assume that Tennessee was going to roll them, but
Yeah.
no, the Gamecocks had different
Oh yeah.
ideas. That Columbia crowd was raucous. Good
Yeah,
win for
that's
that
the
program.
thing.
Good win for Shane Beamer, and they get some
Yeah,
momentum
for
heading into
sure.
their rivalry game against Clemson next
Man,
week.
do that.
But so like we said, Tennessee, they are now out of the college football playoff, one would think, barring just chaos.
Right.
Elsewhere in the SEC, Arkansas hammered Ole
Hammer.
Miss. Ole Miss, I don't
Yeah.
know. Of course,
Wow.
I'm sure that will start the message boards rumors way up that Lane is already on his way to Auburn.
Oh, you know it. Like I have some Auburn friends and then some football groups, and they said the message boards are going crazy. Oh, he's already checked out. He's on the way. I'm sure
Oh
he's.
man.
I'm sure they're playing watching it in Lee
Oh
County.
yeah. Oh yeah. They got that.
Take
They
him in
got that
there.
Auburn private jet on the plane tracking website. But good win for Arkansas. You
Man,
know, kind of
definitely.
a disappointing season. They had
Yeah,
higher hopes, and that's always good to
got
beat a
their
rival.
sixth win though.
Mm-hmm.
Right, got them to their sixth win, bowl eligible now, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it was a little disappointing there. I think a lot of it just, KJ Jefferson missed a lot of time there in the middle of the season, so I think that
Mm-hmm.
kind of took him down a level. But
Yeah, and
got the big win last night, and you know,
yeah, good win for them. Bowl eligible, finish the season strong. They of course will get. Who do they have this?
they play
Missouri.
Missouri,
Yeah, Missouri. That's the new.
Missouri. Even though that's really not a rivalry other than being close, but
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Battle of the Ozarks, I guess.
exactly.
Yeah, I was about to say LSU. Was like, no, they already played that one. I'm used to
Yeah,
that being the old
that
Friday
used to be
afternoon
the
game.
Friday afternoon.
Uh-huh.
It used to be pretty epic. A lot of epic games over the years between those two.
Mm-hmm. Elsewhere, Vanderbilt,
Whoa.
second straight win, beat Florida. Talk about an
Wow.
up and down season. The Gators, that's as up and down
Man.
as you can be. But good for
Man.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. Watch out now. On the verge of bowl eligibility.
Uh-oh. And they get Tennessee next week, right?
And you know what? It's sad to say because you hate to see anybody get hurt, but if Hendon Hooker does not play it next week, watch out. It might be a little closer than what people might look at.
Then the Vols won't for sure, yeah. Yeah, and of course, yeah, that's glad you mentioned that as we do hope that Hendon Hooker is all right. Never want to see that, especially a guy having such a great Heisman campaign like he was.
Right.
Even if he is a Vol. Can't hold that completely against him, but yeah, it's scary for Vanderbilt. You know, they're not going to get. Actually, if they upset, you're right. If they upset Tennessee, they'd be 6-6 and eligible for a bowl. But
kind of amazing considering where they've been at certain times of the season.
And it is home in Nashville. I'm sure it will be mostly Tennessee fans, but
right. But you never know.
Never know. Elsewhere, Georgia. It was ugly. 16-6 win in Lexington, but Kentucky's defense did what they had to do, but they just nothing.
Man, that
could
offense,
get nothing going on offense. Will Levis not a good performance.
No, and that's I made a post about it yesterday. I just don't understand the Will Levis hype. Maybe it's just me, but some of it's the offensive line, I know, but it just seems like in key moments he seems to make a big mistake.
Yeah, a couple of those. Yeah, he's one of those guys that'll kind of do a backward spin move and just chuck it down the field and hope. Right. But
like when he had that one where they had the 5 or something through that terrible interception to Ringo, I was like, wow.
Oh yeah, one of the most terrible interceptions of the day. I think the worst interception I saw was poor Wyoming. Hop outside the SEC real quick, but crazy ending to the Wyoming-Boise State game in Laramie. Boise State trying to run the clock out, fumble the ball. Wyoming recovers, take it down to the Boise 21. On the first play, the quarterback overthrows a pass into the back of the end zone into double coverage, and Boise State picks it off to seal the game. I feel bad for the Pokes, but watching that one was like, what? I don't even know who was throwing that still. I watched the replay about 5 times. I couldn't see the receiver. But going back, yeah, Georgia did what they do, just smother and win. They'll get Georgia Tech next week. I believe it's in Athens. I could be wrong.
That doesn't
Honestly,
matter.
do not know where it is. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. Although Georgia Tech did get a good win yesterday, upsetting
Yeah, that's
North
crazy.
Carolina. And in North Carolina is whatever slim college football playoff
And
chances they had.
probably Drake May's Heisman hope died
Mm-hmm.
last night. Horrible
Yeah,
second half.
yeah, just oof. But so that was it for the SEC next week. Headlined by the Egg Bowl, of course, and the Iron Bowl.
Yes, sir.
Nothing. They don't mean anything within the realm of the standings, but
But the
always for pride.
rivalries are deep.
Yeah, as I've written before on the take, the Egg Bowl is probably one of my favorite rivalries in football.
That rivalry
particularly.
is so underrated.
It's underrated.
Like
It's crazy.
The hatred in that state is on par with the Iron Bowl on a smaller
it's pure
level.
Pure hatred. Yeah, and it's
and nobody knows that better than you freeze.
Man, yeah. I often joke, my wife, she is from Mississippi, her family. I was like, the only thing disappointing about them being Alabama fans is that I don't have like an end to the craziness of the Egg Bowl rivalry,
Man, right.
They're not some like state family or whatever. That'd be fun to watch as a neutral observer every year at Thanksgiving.
That'd be great.
Man. They do have some cousins and stuff that are state fans, but nothing close,
All right, that'd be so great.
Go to games.
See it.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's a game I do want to get to one year. That about does it for the SEC. We'll move to the Big 12. TCU. By the hair of their chin.
Wow.
Crazy. But they get the win in Waco on the banks of the Bravos.
Man, it was
crazy.
Man, the kicker got to redeem himself after missing an extra point.
Mm-hmm.
And they got two. Man, I thought it was over after they missed that 2-point conversion opportunity because that would have walked in.
They great little play. Got the back out in the flat. Like you said, nobody within 5 yards of him, and he just dropped the pass. It wasn't the perfect pass, but it was there for him.
Yeah, it was there for him. I was like, yikes.
And so they get Iowa State at home next week. That should be an easy win. If it were in Ames, you might be a little sweat it just a little bit, but
you would think that TCU will finish off and head undefeated into the Big 12 title game, looking like a rematch with Kansas State, I believe. But
it is. They have not clinched it, which is weird. I wasn't sure about that because looking at the standings, even if Kansas State wins and Texas loses, they finish with the same record, and K-State has the head-to-head. But Kansas State, regardless, just needs to win or Texas to lose, and they get into the Big 12 title game.
Okay.
So we will see what goes on with that. Elsewhere in the Big 12, Oklahoma wins Bedlam.
Pretty easily.
Pretty easily. Started out as a blowout. They offense cooled off, but Oklahoma State never really threatened.
They have Oklahoma State since TCU came back on, it's kind of fell apart.
Yeah, part of it was Spencer Sanders being hurt, but he was back yesterday. But it did not matter in the least. Rough ending to the season for the Cowboys, who were threatening to win the Big 12 and college football playoff just about a month ago.
Yeah, they were definitely a contender at one point.
Did not finish that way. As we said, next week, really the only two games to really watch: Iowa State visiting TCU, and Kansas State host Kansas. So
rivalry game, you never know.
But you figure both of them should easily take care of business and head to Jerry World for the Big 12 title game.
Man,
we'll move out west, Pac-12.
Yeah.
Maybe the game of the day, USC beat UCLA in just an absolute fun one to watch.
Wow, that was a fun one.
Very little defense to be had until the interception that sealed it. Yeah. But Caleb Williams just, helped out his Heisman campaign a lot.
Wow. What do you have, 500 total offensive yards?
By himself,
his little six-game streak has been pretty impressive there. Like, he's at 300 plus 6 games in a row and some wild 400 and 500 yard games. It's like, wow.
Yeah, he was 32 of 43 for 470 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air.
Yeah.
Like you said, added some on the ground. Thompson Robinson was not bad himself, but he threw 3 picks.
Yeah, those picks.
And they were kind of killer. But so USC, they clinches their spot in the Pac-12 title game.
All right.
They still up in the air who they will play, right?
I believe so. I think Oregon they play Oregon, but I think Oregon has to win.
Oregon has the lead in it after their big victory over Utah last night. A little bit of a revenge for last year, just when Utah beat the brakes off them twice
in like 2 weeks.
Span. 3 week span. Yeah. Beat them the second to last game of the year, then beat them in the Pac-12 title game. But yeah, Oregon sits at 7-1 in the conference ahead of Washington and Utah 6-2. So Oregon, they need to win Civil War next week.
Yeah, because if not, what does that do? I mean, then it would have.
If they lose and Washington keeps a record, I believe Washington would have the tiebreaker head-to-head.
Washington beat them. I don't think that Washington and Utah, they didn't play this year, did they?
No, I don't believe so, no. So, yeah, I'm not sure how the tiebreakers work, and the Pac-12 might be a point thing or whatever. But the bad news for Oregon is that Civil War is in Corvallis. Yeah. And that's a weird place to play sometimes.
And Oregon State, their first 8-win season since 2012. So they're having a pretty solid season. So, yeah, that will be an interesting one for sure.
The Beavers, looking strong. USC still in the college football playoff hunt. They host a suddenly hot Notre Dame team.
Man, where did that come from, right? It's ever since
exactly the offense, a team that just could not score points, could not get anything going in the first half of the season. All of a sudden, they're like averaging 40-some points a game the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's ever since they got embarrassed by Stanford. There's something to their season because they've been great since then.
You're absolutely right. They have won 5 in a row since that 16-14 loss to Stanford. They have scored 44, 41, 35, 35, and 44. So that offense is rolling. 44-0 win over Boston College yesterday in a game that started with clear skies and ended
with snow.
Blizzard.
Yeah, with in the last 4 minutes, the field got dusted. It was like, what the heck? Yeah, crazy.
Out of nowhere. So Notre Dame has a chance to play spoiler. They go out to Los Angeles, play the Trojans. The Trojans will move up, obviously, with that Tennessee loss.
Yeah, I have to think they're in that 5 spot more than likely.
We'll go to Notre Dame's conference in every other sport but football, the ACC. Nothing really spectacular going on there. We mentioned Georgia Tech upsetting North Carolina. Does not affect anything. North Carolina's still playing in the ACC title game.
Right.
Clemson held Miami to 98 total yards.
They had like 6 or 12 at halftime. It was ridiculous.
It's embarrassing. At some point, you can't use the excuse they don't have the talent. You can't be a power conference football team
at all
and only have 98 total yards.
This is not an elite Clemson defense or anything. I mean, they're solid, but no.
Yeah, this isn't, Christian Wilkins isn't on that interior line. This isn't those 2016 or so, 2018 defenses.
This is not that.
Mario, this first season,
it's been horrible.
Coral Gables did not go the way Mario Cristobal. They have a chance to get to a bowl. They got to beat Pitt next week, but
that's not a given.
No, it is at home, at least, I guess. That's what you say.
I don't 10 know people how much will be there.
Actually matters. Yeah, other than that, nothing spectacular going on. Florida State keeps winning. They're hot. They've won 4 in a row. They will host their rival Florida Gators next week.
That's weird. It's on a Friday, though.
It is. It's a Friday night game. It's very unusual, but that's a rivalry game that's kind of always.
It's always a heated one, even when they're like a couple of recent years. They've been both bad, but that game has been still pretty entertaining. It's a lot of bad blood there, so good one to watch.
Two teams that do not like each other. That's one of the fun things about all the Florida rivalries. That just the teams do not like each other. It's a shame that Florida and Miami don't play more because when we were in school, there's a couple of classics. that, big comeback by who was it? Not Brock Heward. He played
No,
at
Brock.
Washington.
It was Brock Berlin.
That's it. Brock Berlin, led the huge comeback in the Orange
Yeah.
Bowl over Florida. I believe the same day that Alabama lost to number 1 Oklahoma at Bryant-Denny, when we were sure that we were tearing down the goalpost. But
He thought that was it. Is that when they
that was
did
the
that
fake punt game?
Jeez.
That was the fake punt game. That was
Boy,
Alabama
that
had
stadium
scored, gotten within.
We were within the touchdown. That stadium was rocking.
It might have been even less than a touchdown. We had hit a touchdown I want to say, Treandrous Luke. Yeah. And then defense got a 3-and-out, got a big sack on the third down. Bryant-Denny was probably the loudest we had heard it to that point in our student careers. And then just a great call by Bob Stoops, a fake punt, and then a touchdown on the next play. And it was silence.
Yeah, pin drop. Yeah.
But, that trip down memory lane, I believe that was Shula's first season, if I remember right. Next week in the ACC, like we said, the title game's already decided. Clemson hosts, a Gamecock team coming in with a lot of confidence now.
That'll
see
be
if they
interesting.
can keep scoring like that.
Yeah, because that game hasn't been a game for a long time since Spurrier was there, so it'll be interesting to see what old Shane Beamer does here.
We will end. Oh, the Broncos going with the old school unis, old school helmets at least. We'll end in the Big Ten with Ohio State and Michigan getting wins a lot closer than they would have liked. Ohio State ended up winning by double digits, but they needed a fumble touchdown on the last play of the game because they were only up 6, and Maryland had the ball with a chance to win, but they were down at halftime too.
Yeah, they didn't. But those the last 2 times Maryland had the ball, that offensive line got absolutely destroyed.
It's like the Ohio State defensive line said, you know what, enough of this shit.
Because when they got the ball back, it was about a little under 7 minutes, and they were down 3 at that point. I believe it was 33-30. And they got the 3-and-out, and then they didn't touch the ball again until 30 seconds. So it was
not what you were looking for, but
it was impressive.
Maryland had a chance. Hung around. Michigan needed a walk-off field goal of their own, much like TCU, to beat Illinois in the Big House. Illinois, had slipped the past couple of weeks, and they came in trying to play spoiler.
Yeah.
Michigan held on. The big story coming out of that one is the status of Heisman candidate Blake Corum's knee. He said after the game, he says he's all right, but that is huge. If they don't have him next week versus Ohio State, that's crushing because he is the key. They are, kind of built to beat Ohio State the way they just bruise and beat the hell out of you. But without him,
because there a couple of running backs that are hurt there.
Yeah, I believe a couple of their backups are banged up, or not available too. So. Yeah. And they're not going to match Ohio State in terms of athleticism.
They don't want to. Can't go with the shootout because they'll get absolutely throttled.
No. Yeah, it will not work out in their best interest. But that game is next week in the Horseshoe. As far as the rest of the Big Ten, Purdue won again, so they still
have a shot.
Control. Yeah, they still control their chance to make the Big Ten title game.
Iowa beat Minnesota yesterday. Wow.
Iowa did, so they are right there. Should Purdue slip and fall and Iowa wins next week, they would be the representative. So, but like we said, it's literally, a bunch of, as I read the standings, the overall record 7-4, 7-4, 7-4, 7-4, 6-5. And then you got Nebraska down there, 3-8, Northwestern, of course, 1-10. Yeah. But yeah, so that West, again, as we say pretty much every week, worst division in football.
Battle of average.
Yeah.
Just to get throttled. No matter who they play in the championship game, they're going to get absolutely throttled. We've seen, we've already seen Iowa get throttled by both teams.
That's true, yeah. So we kind of know what's coming. But, yeah, again, if ever there were a case for pod scheduling, it's the Big Ten West. Get your 3 permanent teams and rotate the rest. And I'm sure that would make teams like Maryland and Michigan State happy, sitting over there in the East having to play
Oh
Michigan,
man,
Ohio
they
State,
would.
and Penn
Yeah,
State
don't
every
have to
year.
play that every year there. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely a one where that East is so much better, and they've just walked through the championship game the last decade almost, for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
outside of a year or two in Michigan. Well, when I guess what been a couple of times. Well, before the actual East West, the original divisions, the like Wisconsin,
Leaders and
yeah,
legends.
whatever that trash was, yeah.
And that's all it was trash. So kind of like what the ACC does now, the Atlantic
Yeah.
and Coastal. And you could not pay me on any given day. Oh,
There we
Cowboys
go.
get a strip sack right here. You could not pay me. If you offered me $1,000 right now, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who's in the Atlantic or Coastal
No,
in the ACC.
all I know is that all the
No,
power is with Clemson and Florida State, and
exactly. I remember they originally, when they went to divisions, they put Florida State and Miami in separate ones so they could potentially get two of those
yeah,
games a year, and it
has
never worked
never
out.
come close.
No, not even a sniff at it. Anything about yesterday's games before we go to the power rankings?
Just the whole thing with it being a crazy Saturday, and during the day didn't get any upsets. Got the big one at night there, but a lot of entertaining football in a week that normally isn't considered a great week of football, but we got it.
Yeah, appreciate, even though it's weird, appreciate the Pac-12 moving up that USC UCLA game, which actually it is tradition. Whenever USC hosts Notre Dame, that's their
That's
final game of
usually
the
the
season.
Thanksgiving game, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then whenever they go to Notre Dame, it's usually in the middle of
Yeah,
October, November, or October
right.
sometime. But we'll go to our power rankings. I'll kick it off this week. My number 10 team, the Oregon Ducks. Big, like I said, big win. They bounced back. Didn't really want to put Penn State here. They just haven't. The two real teams they've played, they lost.
Yeah, they lost both their games that they are.
Yeah. So it's kind of in terms of the championship anyway. It's these couple first few spots are relevant.
Okay.
But anyway, that was my number 10. Who you got number 10?
10. I kind of have a tie. I know cheating a little bit, but I have Washington and Oregon at that 10 spot. I know Washington just beat Oregon, but Oregon bounced back with a good win last night. Didn't want to put Tennessee in at all, but I guess I couldn't completely drop them off the top 10. I mean, there's.
I kind of struggled with that myself, but who's your
So
number
I
9?
got Tennessee at 9. They're up until last night had a pretty epic season going, but your season's on the line. They've been talking a bunch of trash about how good they are, that they were going to the playoff, that this was their season, and dropped the egg in Columbia, so they dropped them to the 9 spot. Didn't want them there at all, but overall they're still probably the best, one of the better 2-loss teams in their countries, even after last night.
Right. I actually had Alabama, drop them down to number 9, and then I had Tennessee at 8, and my reason was just the head-to-head. Just
Yeah,
kind of like you. I struggle with it. I almost was like the AP and put Bama ahead because they did win, but
right.
they played.
Yeah,
Awesome
I know we did lose, and yeah, of course, so people are gonna say Homer and everything like that. But sometimes you look at the most recent, and that's thinking about the playoff more than anything. I mean, not that both are out. I mean, we know we're out. Tennessee's now out. And you look at it, I mean, there's the most recent thing you think of is a 30-point drubbing against a team that you were a 20-point favorite on. So then they had to drop.
Yeah, which is never what you want. All right, so who's your number 8?
I have Bama at 8. I
You
got
did?
Bama
Okay.
at 8 there. I mean, it wasn't anything pretty yesterday, but got a shutout and impressive. Lead the country in shutouts since 2007, since Nick Saban's been there. So impressive stat there.
It is not as many these days as there were those first 5 or so years of
not the
that.
same,
But
right.
All right. How about your number 7?
7, have Clemson at 7 there. Got the one yesterday. Let them, but there's still only one loss on the season. Still has some slim hopes, but I guess somewhat alive depending on how this final 2 weeks go. But a chance of making the playoffs. They're still with the one loss, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yep, I had the same. The Tigers of Clemson at number 7. Yeah, just echo what you said. Yeah, they handled their business yesterday, and they'll get the Battle of the Palmetto State next week, and then the ACC title game. I don't really think they deserve any consideration for the playoff, but they, if teams lose them, they might. But I really don't see it. Number 6, I had another Tigers, LSU. They did they play?
Yeah, they
yesterday?
played. They beat UAB.
UAB. That's right. Yeah, UAB. Yeah, tells you how memorable that game was. They, of course, like we said, they've already got the West clinched. They will meet Georgia, unfortunately for them. They do have to play Texas A&M next week, who finally got a win. We forgot to mention they broke their 6-game losing streak. Finally got a win over UMass, but only scored 20 points. They were a 35-point favorite. Did you see the crowd?
The pits of the crowd there.
Oh, it was after halftime, like particularly, it was embarrassing. Yeah, it was like a 2A high school game.
Even in some down years at A&M, I've never seen Kyle Field like that.
No, yeah, I mean, Jimbo gets paid either way, so I don't imagine he's too concerned. But that can't be good. Like, you don't pay $95 million for that.
I mean, they're a pretty loyal fan base. They've been through some bad years in the Big 12, and they never didn't show up like that. I mean, that was bad. I know it's UMass, and you've had a bad season, but wow, that's a statement right there.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, that's a form of protest almost. They will host LSU next week. So the Tigers should take care of business, but that's always been a tricky game since they kind of made that rivalry.
It's kind of jumped into a rivalry ever since that. What was it? That 6 or 7 overtimes a couple years ago.
That 7 overtime game, it was kind of the SEC started kind of forcing it as a rivalry, and they are close in proximity, but it kind of organically became one. They don't really like each other. I mean, as someone who lived in New Orleans for 8 years, I can tell you. People from Louisiana don't really like people from Texas.
Vice versa, because
the feeling's mutual too. Yeah, it's one of my arguments to get a little sidetracked. Why I think the NFL needs to realign divisions, because I want to see the Saints and the Cowboys play every year. Because I want to see Dallas and New Orleans fans interact.
It's a lot of dislike between the fan bases. That's for sure. A lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But all right, who was your number 6?
Number 6, same thing. I had LSU. Pretty much same thing. I mean, they dominated UAB as expected last night. I guess that sadly makes them the Alabama State champs. The UAB Auburn and us, but
yeah. All right, who was
5?
Your number 5?
I have the Trojans of USC. Still playoff alive. Fun game last night. Able to hold on and finally play some defense on the last series there. And that offense is something else.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like you said, Caleb Williams may be leading the Heisman race now. I, too, had USC at number 5. That Notre Dame, like we said, Notre Dame's hot now, but USC, if they can handle business in their last 2 games,
you would have to think,
they should get into the playoff because the loser of Michigan, Ohio State would drop out.
And if if they're 1 loss on the season, was on the road to Utah, but you win the Pac-12, you ended the season with ranked win over UCLA on the road technically. You win. You beat a suddenly hot Notre Dame, who's a top 25 team, and if you beat a Oregon or a Washington, and I mean, you've done more than enough to make the playoff in my mind. But And they're
Mm-hmm.
also a big enough name, USC. They're not going to get that little guy screw syndrome like a TCU would or something like that. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And of course, everyone loves the story of Lincoln Riley in his first season going there.
not that it's very impressive, right?
Except Oklahoma
I
fans.
mean, it's
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
the
Yeah, you
same
walk
as
into
like
a.
you walk into what Nick Saban walked into, or even what Brian Kelly walked into, or anything like that. I mean, he brought it half the
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma program with them. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like USC was devoid of talent. They just had some, bad coaching and stuff over the couple of years there. But
Yeah, and then the thing about that too, you mentioned the Saban thing when he came in a depleted Alabama program. There, one, the state of Alabama wasn't quite as full of great
no,
recruits as it is now.
it was,
But two, Auburn was in the middle. Tommy
Tommy
Tuberville's,
ran the state.
pretty
Yeah,
impressive stretch. He did. He ran the state, and they were getting all the great recruits. Saban's LSU
but
teams before that were stealing recruits, and then Les
yeah,
Miles were taking recruits. It's like LSU on the Mobile area where most of the best Alabama prospects came from.
yeah,
Auburn on kind of the east side, Birmingham, and then Tennessee
right.
was still strong then. They kind of took North Alabama. With USC,
Uh,
there's just so much talent in Southern
right.
California alone and the LA area, and no one, UCLA's not
No.
stepping up and
I
taking
mean
it.
they were
Oregon's kind of falling
losing,
off.
but I
They
mean
weren't
they were
coming and
losing to
taking
like
it.
the Alabamas and the
Hmm.
Ohio
Yeah.
States of the world. I mean,
Like,
it
yeah.
wasn't like some local team was taking the talent.
Hmm. Yeah, but they still
Yeah,
had, there's just so much talent there in that state that they kept, pretty
right,
stocked. They're still stocked full of,
exactly.
solid 4 stars. And yeah, you mentioned, yeah, they were losing the high profile guys like Bryce Young, who was
Yeah,
originally committed to USC before flipping to
exactly.
Alabama. But so we both had the Trojans at 5. Number 4, I have Michigan. How
Same. I
about
have
you?
Michigan there. Tough.
So,
Probably, I don't know. I thought the refs helped them out a little bit. That pass interference at the end was very
mm,
questionable. But
yeah. Oh, yeah.
maybe they
Illinois
still
fans
hit
would
the
agree with you.
field goal from where they were at. I don't know. We'll never know. But man, that's a tough out for. It seemed like a good play. It seemed like good defense. Um, Ohio State had a similar questionable pass interference late there against Maryland, and Loxley's a pretty calm dude, and he went crazy.
Yeah. Maybe, the Big
And the
Ten
cash
refs helping
cows,
out
yeah,
their premier programs there. Yeah. Number 3, I have the
yeah.
Buckeyes. Speaking of our Big Ten cash cows, how about
Same
you?
thing. They
Same thing.
struggled at times, but I wouldn't say so much struggle. I think Maryland really, had played a solid game. Well, Tua had a pretty impressive couple of drives there to keep them in the game there, and
Hmm.
for not really known as a great football program or overall. I mean, they've had some decent years. I mean, that stadium was going crazy last night. It was a good atmosphere for them, but.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Ohio State held on and
No, yeah.
got the. It's I know that might have been a bad beat situation there last night. I know somebody probably had.
Oh,
No, imagine that.
oh man. That definitely, yeah. I'm not sure I'm sure they had already hit the
I'm
over
sure
by
that
then,
hurt
but yeah,
somebody
that's
somewhere.
yeah, you never want
Yeah,
to see that. Yeah, and Ohio State really
yeah, they
showed
did.
their depth last night too, because they were down to
Yeah,
what,
they
their
were.
third string running back, and
Man,
he scored
he
what,
looked
3
like a
touchdowns.
starter. But
He did, yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
and they have a plethora of wide receivers at Ohio State. My goodness, and
mm,
Martin
it
Harrison
is insane,
Jr.
yeah. Well, as you know,
Yeah,
as evidence from last
yeah,
year
that was
with
what their
Jamison Williams transferring out,
fourth wide
yeah,
receiver. Didn't really play the season before at all.
yeah.
Maybe had 80 yards.
Hmm. And as I said, we talked at the beginning of the season in our previews. I thought Ohio State was probably the most
Yeah,
talented team in the country, and
at
they just
least
got the
so.
depth to
Yeah.
prove it. So I imagine we have the same 2-1, TCU at
Yep.
2, Georgia at 1. Yep, the Horned Frogs,
Still
like we said,
going.
still going, still a team of
Yeah.
destiny. Iowa State next week, then the Big 12 title game, and then they are
Yeah.
in. If they take care of business, Georgia just, you know, Georgia, the new
Yeah,
Alabama almost.
Georgia
They
just
just
handling
stomping
business.
that
Even
joyless
yeah, I
murder
mean,
ball.
that yesterday reminded me of those early Alabama teams where it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't impressive on the scoreboard per se, but it never at any point did you think, "Oh man, Kentucky's going to win the game." And some of those early Saban teams, I mean,
Yeah,
we didn't really
exactly.
blow out anybody, but it was still a dominant performance. There was never any doubt who was going to win
Yeah,
the game. So,
yeah. Back when you never took Alabama to cover, but you never
exactly.
really thought they were going to lose. All
Oh,
they were missing was a Mark Ingram type back in the Wildcat for 50% of the game. But that should do it for our power rankings. You got anything to
man,
add?
if this rivalry Saturday's anything like this past weekend, watch out. We might be in for
Mm-hmm.
crazy week.
Yeah, that's true. Everything that kind of looks like uh,
May
business as
not be. Watch
usual.
out.
Yeah, exactly. That's when it surprises you the most. I will say this: as an Alabama fan heading to the Iron Bowl, I always feel a hell of a lot better when it's in
Yeah,
Tuscaloosa than in
I
Jordan Hare.
absolutely hate going down to
Yeah,
Lee County and Jordan Hare because
yeah, we we had two
yeah,
very
it's
unfun
been
trips down
several
there.
since too, unfortunately. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
you think maybe last year they broke the voodoo
so.
curse,
But
but
this the only thing that really worries me about this Iron Bowl is just the fact that there's a completely different mindset in Auburn with Cadillac as a coach.
mhm.
I mean, they're really playing for the guy, uh, and
Yeah, they are playing hard.
they
Started slow against
scored
Western Kentucky yesterday, but turned it
yeah,
on.
it was 17-17 at the
Uh,
half, 41-17 to
41-17.
finish out. So,
Hmm. But like we said, the game is
oh,
in Tuscaloosa, and Alabama now has two,
yeah,
confident wins under their belt, and hope to finish strong and get
yeah,
themselves into
get
a New
the
Year's
10
Six
wins
bowl.
again.
Yep. And well, that's that. We'll move on to the NFL. Uh, we watching, the first set of the afternoon games kind of slowly kick off. No big, real off the field news or anything. So we'll just go right now, as we usually do, our power rankings that we kind of use as our recap. Greg, why don't you start us with your
Number
number
8,
8 team?
I had to drop my Cowboys. I think they were still a decent team, but last week was pitiful. Got us at the 8. I mean, we're still good, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something about Green Bay. We can't beat Green Bay to save our lives for the last decade. Every big game we find a way to lose. It's the only game where Aaron Rodgers looked like a back to the Aaron Rodgers like football, and they just ran all
Mm-hmm.
over us. But
Yeah, not a good loss, and then
they
especially
turned
with
around and got
the
dominated
Packers
by
then
the
turn around
Titans
and lose to the
at home.
Titans. Yeah,
But
yeah.
still, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we still have a lot to play for. We're playing the Vikings today. I mean, if we're able to bounce back and get a win over one of the top teams in the NFL today on the road, I mean, that would definitely help things out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of those Titans, that is who I put number 8. I did drop the Cowboys out the rankings for that week just because that loss in the Titans. I really struggled between like the
Yeah, there's a
Titans, the
lot of people right
Giants,
around the cusp, kind of
the
like,
Cowboys. Yeah, and basically picked the Titans because even though you never know what they're going to get out of their passing game, when you got Derrick Henry, uh, he's that great equalizer. Um,
oh man,
a freak of nature that at this point in his career, you can still just give him the
exactly.
ball and say, "Win us a game, man." And
Talking
King
about
Henry
passing
does.
game, he got that touchdown pass
But
Thursday night.
there you go. That little jump pass, that little kind of Tim Tebow
Oh
special.
man,
Uh, yeah.
it
Hey,
worked.
3. All kinds of skill there for King Henry. Number 7, I have the 49ers. And as I say every week, their record is not as good as anyone else on this list, but I believe talent-wise, and they're
Yeah,
one of the more talented teams, and they're rolling now. They got Christian McCaffrey is just another great weapon they have, and last week who was it, Wilson? Just had himself a
there
game
you go.
running the ball, or Mitchell? No, Yeah, Wilson. But Brandon Ayuk back, Debo Samuel back. That's a team with a lot of weapons, and if their
Right.
defense can stay healthy and get some guys back they lost, that's a dangerous team to look for. Who was your number 7?
Number 7, I have the Tennessee Titans at the 7th spot. Moved them up. Came off the tough Kansas City loss. Got the solid win. Assuming no, they beat lost. Well, they got the ugly win last week against the Broncos after that Kansas City loss, and then Thursday night we were going to Lambeau, and people were like, "Oh, maybe the Packers are back after embarrassing us," but put them to sleep pretty easily there, and had the Packers looking like who the Packers look like for the rest of the year. So they,
Yeah.
it's never pretty sometime with the Titans, but yeah, they get the job done.
How about your number 6?
Number 6, I have your Ravens at the 6th spot. Playing good ball. Got the win today too. They've been on a little winning streak, and if they continue to, just stay healthy and get everybody back, this is a good team there.
I too had the Ravens at the 6th spot, like you said, to kind of get some momentum going. They got an easy schedule, as we talked about. Ugly win today, only 13-3 over the Panthers, but maybe just a little rust from the long bye week.
Yeah, the
but
NFL, there's no style points.
Yep.
It's about just winning games. It doesn't matter if you win by 1 or 100. It's the same thing in the NFL. No one docks you for a close win, no matter how bad the other team is. So.
That's true, yeah. And then they still have, with the tiebreaker now, a couple game lead over Cincinnati for that AFC North lead. Where are we at? Number 5, I had the Dolphins.
Wow.
Another team keeps rolling. When Tua starts and finishes games for them, they don't lose. They're on a bye week this week. Got another win last week. They're rolling. Who's your number 5?
Same thing. I had Dolphins. Big win. A lot of points last week. That offense. Tyreek Hill is just putting up crazy numbers.
Yeah, threatening all kinds of records.
Waddle is around 800 on the year. So I mean, they're just. They put the wide receivers that Tua was used to at Alabama, and they put it in his hands. They said, "Hey, we're going to give you that shot." They gave him that shot, and so far, so good. So.
Yeah, they're kind of running similar to what he ran, that kind of RPO game, and no one does that quick read and slant better than Tua does. And he's showing off, that he's got that deep ball is better than people gave him credit for.
Yeah.
It's real easy when you got Tyreek Hill, and some people want to talk about like, oh well, Tyreek Hill has to wait for Tyreek Hill had to wait for Patrick Mahomes deep balls too. Tyreek Hill's just that fast. He waits for
There's a reason why he's called the cheater. Like that man is on a different level of fast. Like, I mean. Not too many quarterbacks are gonna be able to keep that. He's gonna outrun everything.
And then we should get some props to Raheem Mostert too. They're starting to use him more and more every week, and he's
definitely a solid back there.
Yeah, and that offense very similar to the 49ers offense. They're not afraid. They will use all the weapons they have. Like one guy, I wonder too if they're going to see him more as the season goes on. But Mike Gesicki having a quiet year at tight end, but he's a weapon they have. So the Dolphins have proven. Number 4, I had the Bills. Rough few weeks for them. They did
get the win today.
Let's see. They did get the win today, an ugly one. They had to play it in Detroit because Buffalo is under
4 feet of snow.
6 feet of snow. 4?
I think it was a lot of snow. Yeah, I think it had a chance to get up to 6. Yeah, held on against the Browns. It came down to a pretty good onside kick there, but onside kick attempt by the Browns. But they bounced back after a two-week stretch there where yikes. And you never know after a tough loss that they got last week at home against the Vikings how you respond. But good as you can expect.
Yep. Who was your number 4?
Same thing. Bills at
Same thing. Okay.
4th spot.
How about 3?
3, I have dropped them down. Well, no. 3, I have the Vikings. They're
Okay.
just been playing good football. And the leaders running away with that division. So this is a national statement game this week at home against the Cowboys. We'll see. There's still a lot of time in that one. 3-3 right now, but they're a good team. Justin Jefferson, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Yeah, they're just
Mm-hmm.
fun team to watch.
Yeah, just every week. Yeah, just put the ball somewhere near him. He's going
Right.
to catch it. I'm thinking we're probably had the same last 6 or so here, but yeah, I also had the Vikings at number 3. Um, they're in danger of going down to the Cowboys right now. The boys got second and goal from the 1 here. Unless, of course, you might be a little ahead of me. Oh, no. Pollard,
Pollard,
second,
yeah,
third,
I think we're,
fourth effort. No.
right
Yeah.
there. Third, about to be third and go. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Vikings keep rolling along. They're running away with the NFC North. Yeah, they're on the heels of the Eagles for home field advantage.
Exactly.
The Eagles have that tiebreaker from the first game of
Yeah,
the year,
first and
but
second game of the year where they dominated the Vikings. But yeah, I almost wanted to put the Eagles the 3, but then I thought, no, I can't quite head to head. They smashed the Vikings, so got to give them a little love for that.
no. But I bet you, like me, had the Eagles drop them down to number 2 this
That
week.
I did. That I did.
Mm-hmm.
That was a wild one on on Monday night. That was a wild game.
Crazy and just annoyed the hell out of me because it cost me a fantasy matchup because I had Jalen. Not that he played a bad game, but all his boys just fumbling balls and taking the ball out of his hand.
Yeah,
I needed like
that
6 more points from him. If
when
they hadn't fumbled just one of those times, yeah.
I couldn't believe like just stay down, Watkins, and he stood up and then fumbled the ball because he hadn't got touched yet. Oh
Oh,
my goodness! I was like, wow.
I got swatted.
Jalen had it.
AJ Brown, that ball hitting him in the
Yeah,
hand and it bouncing right up to the cornerback.
but I was absolutely shocked that they didn't get that they missed that face mask
Face
on
mask.
Goddard.
Oh.
What?
I still don't understand how the referees made it out of Philly alive.
Yeah,
Uh,
if that was in Washington and did the
hmm
DC, maybe. But yeah, in
Yeah.
Philly, like, and the fact that they reviewed it and they still, I don't know, maybe that's something you can't review a face mask.
Yeah, they said they couldn't add. They had to review the fumble, but they can't add the face
But
mask
I
to it.
don't.
And that just seems. I mean, I get it. You don't want to review every
But
penalty.
that was
That's where you get a
egregious.
tricky situation. But yeah, how can you not look at that
They
and be like,
ripped his head off.
okay, so also there's a face mask, so there's no fumble on the play.
You at least gotta let him
That's
keep
maybe
the
something I
ball or
wouldn't.
something. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the rules committee makes that kind of change this offseason where they're like, in the event of a turnover, if you notice a
right, they at
egregious
least
foul
let
on
him
the
hold
play,
on to the
yeah.
ball because my goodness, he got his neck turned, his head turned
Oh,
halfway
yeah.
around. It's like there wasn't even a it wasn't like a quick flip of the hand. Like it was so bad.
No. No, yeah, like you said, turned his head all around like, Daffy Duck's bill back in watching Looney Tunes as a
Exactly.
kid. It was
Then
on the
on
wrong
top of
side of
that, they're
his
like, oh,
head.
by the way, you fumbled the ball too. How did you do that?
Yeah. He doesn't know because his helmet was turned around. He couldn't see.
Exactly.
But of course, that would mean we both have the Chiefs at
That's
number
the one.
1. Team that's kind of heating up, rolling
Yeah.
up.
He's out tonight.
Juju's out tonight, yeah,
We'll
but
see.
they have a thriller against the Chargers.
But
They played a great.
that's a game that has been pretty good in the last couple of years. It's an entertaining one. On paper, it doesn't look good, but Chargers are getting their wide receivers back today, so it might be a little better than what we think.
Ooh, yeah, could be big, yeah, and yeah, like you said, the Chargers always play,
Like Kansas City.
play them tight in that game. They
Don't ever win it, but
no, but they scare them.
that
Yeah.
just reminds me of growing up and in college and everything. It seemed like every week talking about the Chargers, it was always right before 60 minutes. It was always Phillip Rivers throwing a last minute interception to win the game. And you're like, oh, on to 60 minutes. But it was always Phillip Rivers on CBS throwing an interception on a game winning drive. Seemed like every week.
Yeah, and since we are talking about the Chiefs, would like to shout out, friend of the take, Twitter user Jeff, you know who you are. I complained a little bit that we didn't talk enough about the Chiefs.
Oh,
And then I pointed out, there's only so many ways we can say the Chiefs are really good still. Patrick Mahomes is still really
still
good.
really good. Probably
So
the best.
nothing against
Probably the best quarterback in the
no,
league still, despite all the other hype with Josh Allen and Jalen and everything else. I still have to give him this props. He's still the man.
yeah, nothing, absolutely nothing against the Chiefs or Pat or Andy Reid. They're just not much to say to him, man. He's just that
Yeah.
good. Uh, Anything other NFL related thoughts you would like to speak on?
I would just like to see us get the win here against Minnesota after last week. Because I was ready to kill Mike McCarthy last week, but that's a different day. We're on to a different week.
Well, all right, yeah, that's true. I guess we can move on. Anything? Let's see. World of sports. Nothing really major in the NBA. Kyrie coming back
Coming
tonight,
back
right?
tonight.
Um,
And I don't know. Like,
uh,
no matter what you think of that situation, I just thought that they were kind of excessive with everything that they tried to have that man do to come back to the league. I mean, I, I
it was, yeah. Like, and at some point, and obviously what he did was screwed up and wrong, and he should, apologize for it, and just, Kyrie's gonna. In some ways, Kyrie's just gonna Kyrie. He's kind of one of those people that's smart, but thinks he's a lot smarter
yeah.
than he is, probably, and just,
But I think
sometimes
he's a
just needs to know.
well-meaning guy who doesn't always come across. I don't know. People just don't like him for a lot of different reasons over the years. He
Hmm.
speaks his mind. He says what he wants, which is a good thing at
Hmm.
times because we've had so much where athletes don't say anything, so it's kind of good to see that. But at the same time, some of his takes on stuff, you're like, oh man,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna hurt your
Like
brand.
you said, like you said, yeah, and he did lose his Nike sponsorship or contract with
Guys,
Nike, so that's huge loss for him. And like you said, you feel like he means well sometimes. Like when he claimed, during his stuff against vax mandates during COVID, where he was trying to say he was the voice of the voiceless and didn't like people not having a choice. Well, that's great and all, but people had a choice. The choice was you could either get the shot or you could not play. That's your
yeah,
choice. It may not be a choice you
but
like, but it was a
right.
choice
I think the
nonetheless.
only thing that really made him well, at first, and I was like, well, I mean, honestly, I was hoping everybody would get their vaccine, so I was kind of against it, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like, dude, like, is this the hill you want to die on? But then when the NBA
Hmm.
let folks who weren't vax come into play, but yet the home team, then I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, and that was a weird New York
Yeah,
City mandate, and that's
but I mean that kind of threw it off for me. I was like, wait a minute. So this guy is not vax, but he's
yeah.
coming into play, but the home guy, and yeah, that was where I was a little lost with it. But
No, for sure. Yeah. And there's a lot of local governments. It's
yeah,
just, do it like Canada did, where they were like, hey, if you're not vax, you can't come to
all
the
right.
country. Uh, I know if there was a big series this year. I think the Royals went in to play the Blue Jays, and they were without like
Yeah,
10 or
because
11
nobody.
guys because
Yeah,
they weren't vax. And Canada was like,
yeah,
nah, no,
yeah.
thank you. But yeah, of course, elsewhere, the big thing
Today
today
started.
was the
Good
first day
stuff.
of the World Cup. And it's kind of weird. I had debated all week long doing a piece or maybe even a special episode for a World Cup preview, and I decided against it. It's just, I'll go on my little rant here, I guess. Just a weird year for the World Cup. Everything's off. The timing, of
In
course,
the
is just
fall,
so off, and
with
the
so
fall, yeah,
much.
interrupts all the domestic seasons. There's so many injuries to key players. We just lost Kareem
Right.
Benzema, the Ballon d'Or winner, is the best player in the world. Guys having just career years.
You hate to see
We've
that.
lost. Oh, it's awful that the world won't get to see him. At the peak of his powers, and on a really stacked France team in France. One of the favorites
Yeah,
of the tournament. They've lost. Paul Pogba. They're losing. N'Golo Kante.
it's just tough.
Yeah, they're really hurting them. But it's weird that that it breaks up the domestic seasons. Really screws up the rhythm there.
Just the
Like I mentioned, all those injuries, and then of course with all the controversy around Qatar, both with the bidding process, how they originally even got to host it. There was, a lot of accusations of
Yeah.
bribery and some evidence of it, even them in the Russia bid for
Yeah.
2018. You hate to see that. I mean, FIFA's a corrupt
It's been
organization
that way
anyway,
forever.
but and then with a lot of the human rights issues with Qatar, both, just from some of their custom, one thing I don't mind, the beer thing, everyone just needs to just chill out about that. Like that's Muslim law there. That's what they do. If they don't want to serve beer there, they don't serve beer, and they are serving beer outside of stadiums, just not in it.
You can't.
And it's really not that different from how it is anyway, because you can't, in England, you can only buy beer on the concourse. You can't take it to your seat like you can here. So it's really not that different. Just get drunk before the game, guys.
Or sneak something in.
But, obviously there are other problems there. Yeah, there are other problems, like homosexuality is illegal there. That's fucked up. Obviously all the migrant worker crisis they had with them building the stadiums and just so many of the deaths, and basically they were, with slaves, and they build much like a lot of World Cups. We had this in 2014 where Brazil, they'll build all these huge multi-million and billion-dollar stadiums, and then they will not get used at all after the World Cup. Yeah, and it's really messed up.
Yeah. That's the one thing that when it is in when next time it's in the U.S. and when it was like here in '94, we have so many stadiums compared to other places that are already there for NFL and everything. So, that actually get used all the time and already there. And when you see some of this international stuff, it's the one time when you're like, man, we have all these disputes and dislike in the U.S. for things, and then you realize, man, maybe some days it's not as bad as we portray it. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we have our own internal strife and problems, of course, but then you see it compared to some other spots, and you're like, man, wow.
Yeah, could always be better. Yeah. The biggest issue we have with stadiums in America is that we, as taxpayers, keep having to pay for them, which is bullshit. You're billionaires, but build your own damn stadium. Like, yeah.
Just like
that, I will never.
Talking about stadiums,
change.
I saw something where like the Royals owner once was trying to get the city of Kansas City. I'm like, dude, you guys are trash. There's no way. I'm like, come on, bro. He wanted like a $5 billion new stadium. I'm like, come on, man. You're not the Chiefs. It's not happening.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and if you own this isn't the '60s where maybe you're worth a couple mil and you own a team. No, if you own a professional sports franchise in America these days, you are a billionaire. Right. Which means you have enough damn money to build and get the funds, investors, blah blah blah, for your own damn stadium.
Be out of the common people.
If you want,
that won't.
If you want to work a deal with the city for the taxpayers to build like maybe a little commercial district around the stadium, that's one thing, because that goes back into the city and that helps.
Stadium where they're not making the money off of it themselves, no way. No way.
Yeah, and this is something I felt for a long time. I did a project for an economics class in my senior year of high school about this very thing. Just we should not pay for stadiums. At all.
Like there's no,
unless the city itself just wants to build one for all kinds of use. That's one thing.
Even then, the revenue, if the people aren't seeing any of that revenue themselves, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can talk about jobs and all that, but I better
I
better see something going on there 5 nights a week.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about jobs that are, I'm not going to knock anybody.
$8-10 an hour to work the concession stand.
Concession stand for a little extra money, because we all say, hey, if you're making money that way, good for you. But man, you got to be honest. No one that's not their ideal job. No one's like, oh yeah.
No, yeah, and it's not worth a hike in your taxes, because then you just whatever you're making there is kind of, it washes out. Yeah.
So, there's so much wrong with that. Yeah, exactly. Just because, we talking about billionaires when people that will probably never even see $1 million, hey, throwing on the stadium, but they can't even go. They can't even afford to go to a game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, that was my little kind of World Cup rant. In today's action, Ecuador beat Qatar in the opening game 2-0. Yeah, pretty easy. They dominated that game. 2-0 was a generous scoreline. But the U.S. will begin their campaign tomorrow against Wales. Yep. 1 in the afternoon. Yeah, that's that rough time zone games too. If you're trying to watch them all live, the first game tomorrow, 4:00 in the morning. So yeah, that's I believe is that 4 Eastern, 4 Central. Let me check that real quick. That might be. Actually, no. Tomorrow is just the first one, 7 Central. So a little bit, not too bad actually. England, Iran, Iran. And then the U.S. is 1 tomorrow afternoon. But starting Tuesday, if you want to catch all 4 games a day live, your first game is 4 in the morning Central Time.
Set that alarm. Get up.
So that's, yeah. Set that alarm or drink some coffee from the night before.
It's like, trying to. I know. I always watch the U.S. basketball in the Olympics, and when it's outside the country, I've woken up at some crazy times to watch it live. So.
Oh, yeah. That's not to say I haven't done past the 2002 World Cup. It was in Japan, South Korea. I remember friends and I at the beach, actually, on our senior week trip, waking up at, basically 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, if we even went to sleep from the night before to watch the U.S. and their, quarterfinal run that year. Of course, one of the classics.
Yeah, it was epic run shit. I thought we were going to beat Germany that year.
Oh, that damn handball. Someone brought that up on Twitter this week. And basically it was like, do you just randomly think about the USA-Germany handball? And I'm like, yes, I do. And I still get mad. That was bullshit.
But at least
the U.S. could have gone to the semis, but they didn't. That's past. They're getting healthier. The U.S. squad, Weston McKennie, Sergio Dest cleared to play, which is big news for the U.S. They've kind of had a disappointing year in a run-up to the Cup here, but we'll see. That's a group that they can easily get out of. Like we said, they'll play Wales, they'll play England Friday at 1, and then they'll end with Iran, and those are all 3 winnable games. The U.S. should definitely be one of the 2 teams that qualify for the knockout round from it.
But no, it's a young team, a lot of energy. Then didn't end as what you would like, but at least qualified in like 18. So I mean, we're in a better spot than where we were 4 years ago, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. We're in it. So
it's
much
good
better.
to see a lot of young talent there, because for a while it was like, dude, Clint Dempsey, it was cool, but dude, you're old. We need to get some young guys in there.
Yeah, Deuce.
That's been a whole nother.
Yeah. If you're looking.
No, I was just saying that's been a whole nother thing. Like I can't claim to be the biggest soccer fan or anything, but I usually, like most people, get up for the World Cup or and all the, at least the U.S. national team, and as it's good to see as diverse as the soccer world is, that the U.S. team is starting to show that diversity, because it's like, dude, I know that there's better talent in the U.S. than what we put out there. They're not getting discovered, or not finding the right people, and it looks like we're finally at least starting to get some of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Getting a lot of guys with dual citizenships key, and then finding those guys that maybe parents immigrated over here to the U.S. from a soccer playing country that grew up playing nothing but soccer. Those are the guys you want on there. Like the Clint Dempseys and all that are great. And Clint, of course, is one of the best ever to put on the U.S. Uniform. But the diversity is the key of this country, and getting them in the soccer team. So we'll see. Like I said, that's a group they should get out of. As far as overall favorites, mentioned France earlier. They have so many injuries that. They're the defending World Cup champs, of course, but those injuries might cost them. I just heard you mention Brazil, probably the best attack in the World Cup. That is just a lethal attack.
But it's been
and they have just so many players they can just swap in and out. It has been a while
since Brazil's won a World Cup.
It has, I believe, 2002 might have been the last one they took. If I remember right, they took 2. Let's see. Italy took 06. 10 was Spain. 14 was Germany. In Brazil, of course. 18 was France. Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll see. Najee Harris getting a rare touchdown this year. Only his second rushing touchdown.
Surprising, but same time it's not.
Yeah, rough year for them. Not with the trash state that offensive line is in this year, and basically no pass game. But Brazil, we mentioned, big favorite. Germany, very talented, should be a favorite to win too. Then you have guys like, of course, Italy did not qualify again, second straight time they didn't
That
qualify. Shocking.
is, yeah, that's gotta, that's gotta really irked up because I know how much they love soccer there, and the fact that 2 World Cups. I mean, everybody's been fired. I
Mm-hmm.
know, I know.
Well, particularly after winning the European Championship
Like,
last
how do
year,
you?
that's huge. How can you not qualify for the World Cup as the
Yeah,
reigning
that's
European champs?
mind-boggling.
That's almost unheard of. And then you got teams like England and Spain, powerhouses. They're younger, but England's probably their most talented
Yeah,
team in a long time. Speaking of World Cup droughts, they
Ugh,
haven't won one since
yeah.
60s, 50s. Ooh, a long, long time. So we'll see how they do. Like I said, that England US
Oh,
game should be
yeah,
hot on Friday. Last time they met was the
yeah.
2010 World Cup, a 1-1 draw when can't remember his right. I want to say his last name, the keeper for England, Green, just had let that awful, awful goal in to give the US a draw. But those are, yeah, like we mentioned, Brazil, France, Germany, those are
Right.
probably your favorites. If you're looking for a dark horse team to latch on to, if you don't really watch soccer, but you just want to root for an underdog, Senegal. Uh, that is, unfortunately they are going to be without Sadio Mane, but
Talented.
that's a very talented team coming out of
It's usually
Africa.
a good. It's usually a
Yeah.
good team or two out of Africa to go deep. So
Mm-hmm. And they got a couple. Cameroon and Ghana
yeah,
are two to watch coming out of Africa this year, too. It'll be interesting to watch Portugal. Guys like Cristiano Ronaldo, all of his problems
right.
with Manchester United. He is they're still Portugal's
Yeah,
always a talented team, but um, with his lack of playing time, we'll see how,
yeah.
rusty he is and the rest of them. Canada's, they in the World Cup for the first time in a long time themselves. Belgium coming to the end of their, want to say golden generation, but they haven't got any trophies. But coming on, they're still an
By the
incredibly
time,
talented team, but they might be over the hill. We'll see. And of course, the Netherlands back in the cup. Always a good squad to watch there. But that should be it for the World Cup. As far as anything else in sports, Greg, anything to speak on from this
uh,
week? Any baseball awards or anything?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess Aaron Judge did win the AL MVP for whatever that's worth, and we'll see. Hopefully, we can re-sign him there. But did get Rizzo back, which is a good thing. But yeah, hope we'll see how this Aaron Judge
Yeah.
run goes because I'm gonna be a lot of money thrown at
Yeah,
him.
we'll see where the winter meeting's coming up
Yeah,
December 5th. So we'll see free agency really starts to ramp up. The kind of like you said, Judge did resign or no, not yet
no,
officially.
Rizzo
No, he did
resigned.
he?
Yeah,
Rizzo
yeah,
resigned. Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Judge
but
has not yet, but so the big that's the kind of probably the biggest news so far. Edwin Diaz did resign with the Mets, so they'll still be playing the trumpets this
they
year.
might want to stop
Uh,
because that's after that
that's
after
true.
Timmy
It
Trumpets played
belong.
that live one is when they kind of things started
Mhm.
falling off for him. So I don't know. We'll see.
It belongs to the Braves catchers Contreras now. Uh, he is now taking it over. It belongs to him. Sorry, those are the rules. If you blow a 10.5
You
game
no
leading
longer have the
division,
song.
you don't get to claim the song anymore. Yeah. I guess kind of the biggest news so far is that the Dodgers non-tendered Cody
Yeah.
Bellinger, who, won the MVP in 2019 and has just been
Horrible.
awful since
Yeah.
then. That's a guy, like I said, 3 seasons ago MVP, and now
That'll
he
be
is a
interesting.
free agent. So he'll probably get like a 1-year deal with some
We'll
team to see if he
find
can't
something again.
get, back up. Other than that, a lot of, kind of relief pitchers and stuff going to teams, but nothing major. All that stuff should ramp up here in the next couple of weeks. Like I mentioned, winter meetings start the 5th. But other than that, I believe that is it for our sports talk. So, of course, we end. Greg, what is done up real good for you this week?
Man, done up real good for me this week. Well, I mean, it's not really me, but yesterday, got to enjoy some of the game. My dad went to TCU, so just the excitement that brought him they've had a good run there, but nothing quite like this. So, that was fun to watch and talk the game with him yesterday. So
That's true. Yeah, I
how
bet
about you,
he's
sir?
excited. You think? Well, hold on. Before we get to that, you think if they do make the playoff, he gonna try to get to a
Man,
game? Maybe we'll see.
his health is a little declined, so he'll probably enjoy it from home. So,
I'm about to say that's pretty much the better option these days, anyway.
yeah, I mean, those.
TVs.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably stay at home. But I mean, if a couple years ago, most definitely. But yeah, probably some of the stuff. Yeah, it'd probably stay at home. But and he's a pessimistic guy. He's like after that, they dropped the 2-point conversion. He's like, well, I'm gonna head out. Then my mom was like, you might want to come back. They got the ball. So that was fun.
All right, let's see. You asked me, done up real good for me this week. I guess, a sort of a double. I'll say first, finally, we are fully in the throes of sweatpants season here in Birmingham.
Yeah.
We had a couple, cold weeks, but then it would get back up in the 80s. But now we are officially, it is nice and cool. So when I'm at home, the sweatpants are on, comfy. And that coincides with the second part of that is now that basically, I guess I'm on paternity leave.
Hey.
Basically until around New Year's.
Nice.
For the most part. So a lot of lounging coming up for me. Hopefully baby boy gets to come home in the next couple of weeks. He is still doing great, improving every day. So if we can get that, then hey, daddy's relaxing at home.
Man,
we're not leaving the damn house for anything.
That is nice. Hell yeah, that's the best. Don't have to go anywhere. Just hanging out.
Ordering, yeah. We get the mother-in-law's in town. She just came in town today. She's going to cook us Thanksgiving food this week before she goes back. Yeah, so that was good. My mom was in town last week helping out, so that's good. We got to see family, but then we were like, all right, we love y'all, but
guys gotta
once
go.
we get once Mercer comes home, we're gonna lock the doors, lock down the perimeter. We're only going outside to walk the dog. But that is it for us this week, folks. Thank you once again for listening to Taking on Sports. As always, be sure to check out all of the podcasts on the Alabama Take Family Podcast and the alabamatake.com. And as always, keep it done up real good out there. Greg, have a good one, bud.
You too, buddy.